Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 5 of our AI photo editing series. Today we're diving deep into one of the most powerful features in Photoshop, Select Subject using AI. You're going to learn how to instantly isolate people, objects, or products with a single click, as well as how to refine the edges to make sure they blend into your new backgrounds perfectly. You'll learn how to create new backgrounds and even how to change the color of your subject's clothing. And remember, you can download all of the sample images as well as PSDs and printable calendars so you can follow along day by day with our entire AI photo editing series. It's totally free. Just click on the link right down below. All right, we got a great video for you. Let's jump into Photoshop. So we're starting off with our first example. Now we have a few ways of selecting our subject. I can go here in my contextual taskbar right to select subject. This is going to use cloud-based AI to select our subject. But if you know you want to remove the background, you can simply click on remove background and it's going to select your subject and create a layer mask. And that's exactly what we're going to do to start this image. We're going to click here on remove background. You're going to see it works to select our subject, automatically creates a layer mask, and we have a transparent background. Now here in our first example, I want to create a solid color background as well as a gradient background to show you what you can do. We're going to start with solid color. So we're going to go to layer. We're going to go down to new fill layer and over to solid color. There we go. Let's hit OK. You can choose any color here. We'll just start with something like that, red, and then make sure you're in your layers panel. Just click and drag that underneath your subject, and there we go. Now, the first thing we're going to notice here is I might see a little bit of a halo around my subject. This is from the original layer that they were on. I'm going to hold Shift and click on the layer mask of my subject, and you can see they were just on a white background. So what I need to do is refine the edge of my selection just a little bit. For that, we're going to go ahead and click on our layer mask. You can double click on your layer mask, which is going to bring you into your properties panel. And then we're going to go to select and mask. You can also get to it by going to select and then down here to select and mask. Okay. So here in our select and mask dialog, really what we want to do is contract that selection just a little bit. So over on the right-hand side, you're going to see global refinements. Go ahead and open that up. And we're going to go to where it says shift edge. And we're just going to move this either to the right. You're going to see it's going to extend our edge outward a little bit. Or we're going to go ahead and take this to the left a little bit, and it's going to bring our edge in. There we go. That looks great. Now, if you do have any areas like this, let's go ahead and zoom in with the hair. If you have any areas like with the hair, go ahead and grab your refine edge brush tool and simply paint on those areas of the hair. You're going to see I'm going to get a real-time calculation when I do that, and it's simply going to remove any of those background elements that we didn't want to be there. So any of that white fringing there, just paint with your refine edge brush tool just over the white areas. There we go. And you're going to see that looks great. And when I zoom out, we have a completely natural result. Let's just make sure we do it right over here on this hair also. All right, that looks great. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Now at this point, we're going to go back to our layers panel, and you're going to see our solid color fill layer is behind our subject. So I can double click on our solid color fill layer, and then I can just change it to any color that I want. I have my hue right over here, and I have my saturation and lightness here. I can even bring my eyedropper tool here, and I want to put it to that yellow to match her shirt, which is cool, or I could put it to that green to match the other color in the shirt. I think the yellow actually looks really cool, so we're going to leave it right there. And just like that, we were able to change the background to a new color using select subject. But we're not done yet with this image. The next thing I want to do is add a gradient to the background as well. So to add a gradient, we're going to go to our gradient tool. You can hit G or simply go to your gradient tool. Now here in the top, you have two options, gradient or classic gradient. I recommend using gradient, which will allow you to change the colors at any time. So click there. Now we're going to go to our actual gradients. I'm going to go to where it says oranges, and let's just choose this orange. We can change this at any time. We're going to zoom out a little bit, and then I'm going to make sure I have my linear gradient on. I'm just going to click and drag, and then we have a gradient. I can click and drag the other way for a different gradient, or I can change my gradients up here to many different shapes. I like this radial gradient. Let's go ahead and bring this in right over here. We have a radial gradient kind of coming from this yellow to the orange. Now, a couple cool things here. You can flip or reverse the gradient just like this if you want to change the colors, or you can change the gradient here as well. So as I move through all of these different gradients, we have completely different effects on our background. I like this one. I think it looks really good. If you want to change individual colors, simply click on that color. Here you go. Click there, and then you could change it to your individual colors, which is going to change a lot about your image. For instance, you could grab this green, boom, and then it would change from this yellow to that green if you wanted to do that as well. I'm going to hit cancel because I liked that before, but just some great examples of how you can completely change your background to a solid color or a gradient starting by select subject. For our next example, we're going to select our subject and make them brighter so they better stand out from the background. So here we go with this image, really simple. All I have to do is click here on my background layer. We're going to go to select subject in my contextual taskbar. By the way, if you don't see your contextual taskbar, simply go to window and then down to contextual taskbar. You can see we've done a great job selecting our subject. And now that we have, all I have to do is go to my adjustment panel. If you don't see your adjustment panel, go to window and then down to adjustments. Make sure that's checked. Now, here we have our subject selected. I'm simply going to go to brightness and contrast. Let's click there. And then I simply adjust my brightness. And because we started with a selection of my subject, here in my layers panel, you can see we have a brightness contrast adjustment layer. And the selection that we had from select subject is automatically loaded into the layer mask. So back in my properties panel, I can adjust the brightness, I can lower the contrast, and there we go. How nice is that? They look really good. If you want to warm them up a little bit in color temperature, you know what we're going to do? We'll just do a new select subject, really nice and easy. We're going to go into our adjustments, and I'm going to use the brand new, by the way, I'm in Photoshop beta recording this, but by the time we release this, it's going to be in the full build of Photoshop, the brand new color and vibrance adjustment layer, where you can adjust your color temperature, tint, vibrance, and saturation. How nice is this? So we're just going to make our subject a little bit warmer and work on our vibrance as well. There we go. She looks awesome. So a couple quick adjustments to make our subject look great, all with select subject. In our next example, we're going to enhance the background a little bit by adding a glow behind our subject. So here we have our image. We're going to start again by going to select subject. Now, because we're going to go ahead and make a selection of the subject, I'm going to grab my gradients tool. With the gradient tool, we're going to choose gradient. I can choose any one of these gradients, but I'm going to start with this foreground to transparent gradient, which will allow me to change my foreground color at any time. And I'm going to choose a radial gradient. Now, I can go ahead and choose the foreground color that I want. Let's go click on our foreground, and I'm going to choose like a bright yellow, something like this. It looks great, and hit OK. So you're going to see it's going to go from yellow to transparent. Now, because we already have a selection active, once I make my gradient, this selection is going to get loaded into my layer mask. So let's go ahead and click and drag out just like that. Boom, there we go. You're going to see now it's only visible where my subject is visible, and we have our gradient layer with a gradient or with a layer mask. What we want to do is actually invert this layer mask. So you can click on the layer mask itself, hit Control or Command I, or you can go to your menu items and go to invert mask. There we go. And now we've inverted this. We have a gradient behind our subject, but you can still see the background there as well. Let's hit G for the gradient tool and click right here on the gradient layer. You're going to see I can move this at any time and the mask stays in the same place. I can change the size of the gradient as well. And if I want to, I can change the blend mode. From normal, we can try some things like linear dodge. Look how cool that looks. It really interacts with our background layer. And of course, I can simply click here on this color. I can go to my color in our contextual taskbar, and I can change this color at any point in time. So as I move this all around, you can see all of these colors are now available to me, and I can change the color of my background, giving it just like a really interesting and vibrant look. I think something like that looks awesome. Here we go. There's our before and our after. And the last thing we're going to do is change the color of our subject's clothing as well as use some AI. So we're starting out again with select subject. So we have our background selected here. Let's go to select subject. Again, this is using cloud-based processing using AI to select your subject. Absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to go to my selection brush tool right over here. You're going to see it's going to turn my selection into basically an overlay. So we have a pink overlay here. Now I've selected my subject. I just want to go ahead and paint away her face and her hands because I don't want to select those. So what I'm going to do with my selection brush tool here, we can go right up here to where it says subtract. There we go. And I have a minus icon. And now I'm painting away from that selection. There we go. Look how nice this is because I don't really want to affect my subject's face. There we go. Or my subject's hand. All right. So that looks really good. Now what we're gonna do is use this selection and load in a hue saturation adjustment. So we're gonna go right here to our adjustments. Again, if you don't see your adjustments, go to Window and then down to Adjustments, make sure that's checked. And we're gonna go to where it says Hue/Saturation. Boom, click on that. Now, once I did that, you're gonna see it loaded that selection that we had automatically into the layer mask of this hue saturation adjustment. So we're gonna go back into our properties panel. I'm gonna grab our yellows, and what we're gonna do is use our eyedropper to select the exact yellows that we want. Boom, okay? And then I've got my hue slider, and with my hue slider, I can change the color of those yellows to anything that I want. I want a red jacket, boom, that looks great. Let's start off with a red jacket or an orange jacket, really whatever you want to. We simply targeted that color and changed it to whatever we want. And that's it for selecting subject using AI. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give us a big thumbs up. And don't forget, you can download all of these sample assets so you can follow along. It's totally free. Just click on the link right down below. If you want to keep getting more videos in this series, click on subscribe. We'll send you free videos on photo editing using AI in Photoshop. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.